there, Coach Sage Kande of VO2 Max Productions here with another training talk. Today we're going to talk about 3 key types of long run workouts. And it doesn't matter if you're a 5K runner, 10K runner, half marathon runner, or ultra marathon runner, you need to have a long run workout in your schedule. And these are 3 of the main types that you'll find in our training plans at sagerunning.com. It's a real key workout to do, and these are some variations that I think are essential to have in that rotation. Now obviously if you're just training for a 5K, maybe a super fast 5K, that's a hard event, the long run is not as much of a key workout. It's not as much of a key emphasis as a shorter speed workout, VO2 max types of workouts, or a shorter interval or tempo run type of workout. But if you're a marathon runner or ultra marathon runner, the long run's really your bread and butter workout. It's probably the most important single type of workout you could do in your training schedule. So there is a shift of how important the long run is relative to which distance you're training for. Now, also being said, the distance or duration of your long run for these 3 different types is also going to be dependent on your running experience, mainly your weekly mileage totals. So if you're only running 20 or 30 miles a week, you obviously can't go out and just do an 18-mile long run. Well, you could, but it probably wouldn't be a good idea to do a long run that's almost as much as you usually would run in 1 week. Likewise, if you're running 60 or 70 miles a week, a 20-mile long run wouldn't be as much of a problem. So you do have to take that into account. And generally, the rule of thumb with the distance of long runs is no more than about 30% of your weekly volume. Now, if you're a marathon runner, you're running 50 miles a week, obviously you could probably get away with doing a 20-mile long run, and that's what we'd suggest. But all else aside, if you're running 30 miles a week, you probably don't need to do much more than 10 or 12 miles. Maybe you're only training for a half marathon. You don't actually have to go 13.1 miles yet. But if you want to improve, if you want to really push the envelope, generally higher mileage is going to be your best bet in increasing your long run. Now that I've defined the distance or duration of the long run, let's get into the 3 different types. Oh, actually, one final note. If you're an ultra runner, you're doing a real mountainous ultra race, you want to get out on the trails and try to simulate that environment in your long run. And obviously if you're going up and down mountains for 20 miles, it might take you 5 or 6 hours. So you do want to maybe have a cutoff in duration. Maybe you only want to go 4 or 5 hours, or only have time to go 4 hours. It's a pretty long run, even for someone like me who does a lot of ultra marathons. Maybe you're only going 12 miles and it takes you 3 or 4 hours. But that's okay because you're getting in the time in on your feet. So sometimes you do go by time, not just distance. You have to say, okay, I'm doing a lot of work because I'm moving my body up with a lot of vertical displacement, a lot of vertical climbing, not just moving myself horizontally a certain distance, a certain work output. So also take that into account when doing these long run workouts. Now to get into the 3 different types of long runs, the first type of long run that we suggest is just going for a distance long run, a steady, even pace for a distance that's really far for you. So maybe if your long run's been 16 or 18 miles, finally you push the envelope and you go 20 miles. And you do it at a pretty steady pace. And say, if you're training for a marathon, this could be a 20-mile long run, and you get down to a pretty steady pace, at least within a minute per mile of your marathon goal pace. But it's a pretty steady effort. It's not meant to be super fast or intense. It's mainly about getting the distance in as efficiently as possible. So you're pushing the envelope. It's hard because it's the longest you've ever run in a workout, and you don't worry as much about speed. But it's still a steady effort. It's not a super easy jog. You still want to get in pretty high aerobic effort, about 70 to 75% of your maximum heart rate. And the second type of long run workout you could do is what I call a big negative split type of long run. And this long run might be a little bit shorter, on the shorter scale in terms of your long runs. Maybe you're only going, maybe you're not going quite as far, 2 or 3 miles less than your longest long run, but it's more intense. And you're doing a negative split, which means you run the second half a lot faster than your first half. And this could involve a pretty quick acceleration. So basically maybe you're starting off the first 5 or 8 miles at a pretty easy, slower pace to warm up, but then all of a sudden you shift gears and you say, okay, for now for 4 or 5 miles, I'm gonna try to run my marathon race pace, or I'm gonna try to run as fast as I can for these last 4 or 5 miles. And so in the second half of the long run, you're increasing your speed pretty significantly and making it challenging. So this is great because your legs are already tired from warming up before. You've already put in some volume, but then you have to shift gears, and it helps build that resistance for when you encounter it in a race, in a half marathon or marathon. You'll definitely be tired later in the race, and it's a good way to practice being able to increase your pace and develop a lot of leg strength as well as cardiovascular power. You could actually get down to pretty high intensity, kind of a tempo run or lactate threshold intensity doing this type of workout. And it's just a great strength builder all around. So if you're a 5K or 10K runner, it's going to make you a lot stronger as well. And the strength is what's going to bring out your speed in the end. So it's a tough workout. It could be tougher, but it's dependent on how much you push, but it's a steady acceleration basically in the second half of the long run. And then you want to cool down with a couple easy miles maybe at the very end. You don't want to always just end your long run with your fastest mile, but you had a good 4 or 5 miles in there in the second half of the long run that are pretty high-end aerobic state, maybe 80 to 88% of your maximum heart rate. Then the final type of long run that I like to do in my plans, if you've followed my OTQ Training for Olympic Trials Marathon qualifier series, I've done this. I'll link to it right there. One of the long runs workouts I did actually is a 24-mile long run, but it's basically a long run with what we call a fartlek in the second half. And this is a lot like the negative split long run because your second half is also going to be faster. But a fartlek basically means speed play, and it's about really changing gears. And the beauty with this is you go by time. And so in that sample workout I did 8 times 3 minutes hard followed by 2 minutes easy. So I'd run 3 minutes at about half marathon to 10K race pace, which is pretty fast for me at altitude, followed by a 2-minute steady recovery jog. And then I'd repeat that cycle 8 times. And you could do variations on this, but basically it really teaches you to shift gears to faster pace. Maybe you can even do 5K or 10K pace for a couple minutes while getting in a shorter recovery jog. And so you're doing these faster little intervals followed by slower reps. And it really gets your legs turning over at a fast pace when they're tired because you're pretty far into the long run. But it also gets your heart rate skyrocketing up. So if you graphed your heart rate like on Strava.com or something, you'd see this spike of heart rate going up as you go along for each interval. And it's basically a traditional interval type of training workout embedded in a long run. And with the fartlek, since you're going by time, you could go more by feel. You don't have to run a certain distance. You don't have to run it 800 meters or whatever necessarily. And if you have a GPS, maybe you could track how far you go with each surge. But the general idea is to get in a high-end effort and to get that leg turnover up, because that's really going to build your speed and running economy and stimulate the fast twitch muscle fibers, which come into play late into a long run. After about 90 minutes, your slow twitch muscle fibers, which you started off with a slower pace at, start to get tired. So then your fast twitch muscle fibers kind of kick into gear, and you could really capitalize on stimulating them by doing some faster turnover stuff at the end of your long run in this type of workout. So, you know, if you could build to running 10K or 5K pace at the end of a 15-mile long run, you're going to be a lot better prepared for when you have to race a marathon or half marathon and you have to close down that last 5 or 10K and you're getting super tired because you're starting to hit the wall. So it basically builds a lot more resistance to that fatigue, and it builds your speed so that you're more efficient overall. And you go from maybe burning a lot of fat early on, fat burning, to capitalizing on some of your glycogen stores. Alright, so that's my rant on these 3 major types of long runs. Again, if you want to subscribe, I do training talks pretty much every week now, as well as my own Training for an Olympic Trials marathon qualifying time. You could follow along. Sandy and I have our adventures. And also check out our website, sagerunning.com. We have a Facebook page as well as the regular website with training plans, newsletter you could subscribe to, and the free pace chart that you could download there. But also check out my links on the YouTube channel through the Training Talk playlist I'll put a link up for my long run fartlek workout that I did this last month, as well as tempo run video on doing lactate threshold or tempo run workouts. Another good key piece of training that you need, whether you're training for a 5K or marathon or anything in between, ultra marathon, as well as a VO2 max interval workout, which I'll link to right there. All key pieces of the puzzle of putting together a nice training plan that'll allow you to progress and really improve over time. So thanks again for all the comments of future training talk topics. I'll look at them if you comment and vote below. And be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for the latest training talk videos. And thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate all the support and all the views and all the shares. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more VO2 Max Productions.